This is ANN News Brief.
Good morning, I'm Lucy Adeyemi. 2 Canadians on an exchange program in Ghana have been abducted. Police and local media say the 2 were attending Kumasi Technical University in the country's second largest city. Spokesman for Global Affairs Canada, Judy Yuam Berube, told the Associated Press on Thursday that Canadian officials are providing assistance to the victims' families and that no other information is being released so as not to compromise ongoing efforts or endanger the safety of Canadians. This is the second time in under a month that foreigners have been targeted in the south-central city of Kumasi. An Indian national was earlier abducted and rescued. Ghana's president has vowed to crack down on those committing the crimes. The United Nations says it is temporarily removing some civilian staff from Sudan because of the security situation in the country, where security forces carried out a deadly raid on a protest camp on Monday. Medics linked to the opposition said the death toll from Monday's operation and subsequent unrest had risen to more than 100 and that it was expected to increase further. No official casualty figures have been released. The raid followed weeks of wrangling between the ruling military council and opposition groups over who should lead Sudan's transition to democracy. The worst outbreak of violence ensued since the army ousted President Omar al-Bashir in April after months of protest against his rule. UN spokesman Farhan Haq said the exercise is temporarily relocating some of the staff from Sudan. He says there will still be some staff on hand to perform critical functions. The spokesman provided no information on how many staff were being moved, where they were going, when they might return, and how many would remain in the country. He said only civilian staff, not uniformed personnel, are leaving. Stay with us, we'll be back after these messages.
There is a new all-news network on the scene in Nigeria to give news from a purely news perspective and to promote free information flow across Africa. Fresh views, unbiased, bold, with a purely African view. African News Network, ANN, in a truly African spirit.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa had earlier said he would safeguard the human rights of the country's sex workers. So members of allied of Asijiki Coalition for the Decriminalization of Sex Work gathered outside Parliament earlier this week to thank him for committing to decriminalizing sex work and safeguarding their human rights. A declaration to this effect was signed at the National Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Summit held in November last year, jointly hosted by government and civil society organizations seeking to find solutions to gender-based violence in the country. A sunflower and red umbrella with "Sex Work is Work" and "Sex Work Promise" written on it was delivered to the president. National coordinator and founding member of the Asijiki Coalition, Koli Buthelezi, said the sunflower from the sex workers was a gesture to the president's courage. Buthelezi also said criminalization of sex work puts sex workers in danger because they cannot access legal and health services that are enjoyed by everyone else. He said the bill will change sex workers' lives because it will also help get rid of the stigma against them. The president was not present to accept the flower, but it was received on his behalf by his staff in the presidency. That's ANN News Brief. For details on these and other stories, visit our social media platforms and join the conversation on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Lucy Adeyemi.